Decorate more life.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina wa Mawlana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. اللهم إنا نسألك حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عمل يقربنا إلى حبك يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, we ask you for your love. We ask you for the love of those actions that you love, and we ask you for the love of those people that you love, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you to make this a gathering whereby we increase in our understanding of the deen. We ask you to make this a gathering whereby we get closer to you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you to make this a gathering, Ya Allah, in which we gain your forgiveness and deeper understanding of this deen, by which we get closer to you in Jannah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so last class was a beautiful class because Sheikh Ahmad Bamba rahimahullah, in this work, he was explaining different aspects of dunya. He was explaining different aspects of things that can confuse us. And it was a beautiful section. He spoke about how we shouldn't be trusting or putting our i'timad, which is dependence, on anything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even our actions themselves should not be the things that we're depending on, because sometimes a righteous action could in fact lead you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and vice versa, a sin can bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now obviously we said, like, we're not going to go out like, chilling tonight with the intention that if I sin it's going to get me closer to Allah. No, that's not the case. But the point is that the feeling that can occur within the heart due to the sin is actually a beautiful kayfiyah. It's a beautiful thing, and that beauty right there is something that can bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, in today's class, in today's lesson, tonight inshallah, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba rahimahullah, he goes into things that can truly trip you up on your path to Allah. He starts to discuss things that can throw you off and completely throw you off that journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so I'm just going to pick up where we left off from last week and get right into it inshallah. Bismillah. He says, وَمِنَ الرَّذَائِلِ وَطُولِ الْأَمَلِ وَالْجَمْعِ وَالْمَنْءِ مَعَ التَّكَسُّلِ وَاحْفَظْ جَوَارِحَكَ حَيْثُ تَقْصِدْ عَنْ كُلِّ مَا نَهَاكَ عَنْهُ الصَّمَدْ وَدُمْ عَلَى نَذْرِ عَيْبِ نَفْسِكَ وَدَاوِهِ وَتُبْ لِخَوْفِ رَبِّكَ. He says, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, وَاحْفَظْ جَوَارِحَكَ. Protect your limbs. Be careful about what your limbs are doing, your hands, your eyes, your feet. Be careful about what your limbs are doing. حَيْثُ تَقْصِدُ. And what you're seeking out through your limbs. Be careful. Watch that. Be on guard about that. عَنْ كُلِّ مَا نَهَاكَ عَنْهُ الصَّمَدْ. And what you're being careful about is making sure that your limbs are not being involved in everything that yanhaka samad, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited us from. So he says, be careful, watch your limbs, watch yourself. وَدُمْ عَلَى نَذْرِ عَيْبِ. Now how are you going to do that? Look what he says next. He says, وَدُمْ عَلَى نَذْرِ عَيْبِ نَفْسِكَ. Constantly watch the faults of yourself. Constantly, nadar aybi nafsika. He says, constantly watch your faults. Now, two things can happen from watching and looking at your faults. There are some people that become so preoccupied with what they're doing wrong that they lose all motivation to move forward. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you walk into the gym and it's the first time there and everybody else is pounding out weights and you picking up the little joints. Maybe I don't need to be here. And so by seeing your deficiency and you're not at that level, sometimes what happens is it'll stop your progress completely. But other people, and this is the way we should be, is that you're looking at your faults in a way that's motivating you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So that by looking and studying your faults and knowing where your shortcomings are, that's the thing that's pushing you to keep moving forward. But what I want everyone to understand is you got to be careful though, because sometimes people slip up and they look at their faults so much that they lose progress. So depending on your own personal level, you have to study your own faults in order for you to do what he says next, which is وَدَاوِيهِ وَتُبْ لِخَوْفِ رَبَّكَ. He says, look at your faults constantly. Number one, Number 2, what's next? Wadawihi. And then treat them. Like what he means by that is once you realize that this is my fault here, well you got to get treatment for that, yo. You got to go see a doctor for that. You got to go see someone that's going to help you with that problem, whatever it could be. Lowering your gaze, praying salat on time. It could be whatever it is. But whatever it is, once you find that aib, the next step is what? Treat it, right? So he says, وَدُمْ عَلَى نَذْرِ أَيْبِكَ نَفْسِكَ. So we talked about this before, which is like having that regimen where every night you're looking at your actions to make sure they're on point. Number 2, وَدَاوِيهِ. Now after you've treated them, what do you do next? وَتُبْ لِخَوْفِ رَبِّكَ. Constantly do tawbah now. The beauty I think about this is, like, you found your faults, right? You found your faults. You're like, yo, Mikaeel, you're slipping up on prayers, man. Like, I'm saying to myself, like, yo, you're slipping up. So I found that fault. Then I go to someone. I go to my teacher. I go to someone. I'm like, yo, I have this issue. I need help with it. And they're like, all right, here's the treatment. I need you to do this. Now, through all of that, I'm struggling. So the next thing, tawbah. Just keep rectifying that relate. What does tawbah mean? Repentance. You're constantly fixing that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, he says, وَدُمْ عَلَى نَذْرِ أَيْبِ نَفْسِكَ وَدَاوِيهِ وَتُبْ لِخَوْفِ رَبِّكَ. So constantly look at your faults. Again, not so that you become demoralized, but rather to encourage you to move forward so that you can fix it. وَدَاوِيهِ, and treat it. وَتُبْ لِخَوْفِ رَبِّكَ, and then seek forgiveness regularly. وَدُمْ عَلَى إِزْدِيَادِ عِلْمٍ وَعَمَلٍ لِوَجْهِ رَبِّكَ فَقَدْ عَزَّ وَجَلَ. Next thing, وَدُمْ عَلَى إِزْدِيَادِ عِلْمٍ. Constantly now, after that, increase your knowledge. Like our coming together every Wednesday, right? That's to increase your knowledge, right? Why? Because وَعَمَلٍ لِوَجْهِ رَبِّكَ. Once you have knowledge, now through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're able to act upon whatever it is that we learned in this gathering and move forward. So he says, وَدُمْ عَلَى إِزْدِيَادِ عِلْمٍ وَعَمَلٍ لِوَجْهِ رَبِّكَ فَقَدْ عَزَّ وَجَلَ. Constantly increasing your knowledge and your actions, only for the sake of Allah, only for His sake. إِذَا الْمُرِيدُ لَا يُرِيدُ أَبَدًا غَيْرَ رِضَى الرَّحْمَنِ حَيْثُ قَصَدًا. He says why your actions should only be for the sake of Allah, because the true seeker, the true murid, the true seeker of Allah, la yuridu abadan, never wants ever, ghayru ridha rahman, anything other than the pleasure of Rahman. Listen, the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us over and over again that if you gain the pleasure of Allah and you lose everything else, you've lost nothing. And if you get the entire world, you get all the cars, you get everything you want, but you lose the pleasure of Rahman. I ask you, what did you gain, yo? Because at the end of the day, everything you gained is quick, yo. What, 60 or 70? So what is he saying? He's saying that the true murid, the true one seeking Allah, la yuridu abadan ghayra rida rahman, never ever truly seeks out anything except the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so what me and you should be thinking is, in our hearts and our minds right now, what you should be reflecting on is, what am I seeking out right now in life, yo? Ask yourself that question right now. Like, what am I going after? What am I seeking out? Am I seeking out something really shallow, something really temporal? Or is my focus that I need that pleasure of Allah? That's the question I need everyone to reflect on as we read this. إِذَا الْمُرِيدُ لَا يُرِيدُ أَبَدًا غَيْرُ رِضَى الرَّحْمَنِ حَيْثُ قَصَدًا. Because the true seeker only seeks out or desires. Never ever. لَا يُرِيدُ أَبَدًا غَيْرَ اللَّهِ. Never wants anything except the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know the crazy thing about the pleasure of Allah, there's a hadith, right? That the Prophet ﷺ, he said, whoever seeks out the pleasure of Allah, regardless of the anger of people, Allah will be pleased with them, and Allah will make the people eventually pleased with them. But whoever seeks out the pleasure of people, in spite of the anger of Allah, what does that mean? What that means is sometimes when you seek out the pleasure, your own family member is going to start hating on you. Well, why are you rocking a hijab, yo? You all pious now, yo? Why you growing a beard, dude? What's wrong with you, yo? You're going to that Wednesday halakha too much, man. What you doing, man? Like, for real? Like, the hadith is like, when you start seeking the pleasure of Allah, haters are gonna hate, yo. Understand, that's real. Haters gonna hate. And so the hadith says, whoever seeks out the pleasure of Allah, in spite of the anger of the people, what's the outcome? Allah is pleased, but guess what the crazy part? Allah makes the people pleased too. Later on in life, like, yo, man, I see what you was doing, yo. Yo, props. But like, yo, but you was hating on me while I was doing, I know, but you know. And then the hadith continues, but whoever seeks out the pleasure of the people, you're trying to please everyone, man. Trying to please every person. Despite the fact that those actions displease Allah, Allah will be upset with you, and eventually the people are going to hate on you anyway. Because people flip quick, yo. You know what I'm saying? People flip quick. So again, the point is your focus is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know what? When your focus is pleasing Allah, it makes life so much easier, yo. When you keep it open, yo, it's a little hot up in here. Keep it open. When you're focused on pleasing so many people, it tires you out. But when your focus is only pleasing Allah, it takes a burden off your shoulders, man. It takes a burden off your shoulders. So consider that. Look what he says next. ففي كلام شيخنا المختار سيد القطني ذي الأنوار فطلب الراحة في الدار الغرور فضيحة يوم القيامة يسير. He says, now he's about to switch it up a bit. And this is what we're going to focus on for today mainly. What he's trying to say is stay woke. In the next 8-9 lines, he's like, stay woke. And he's going to mention things that you may misunderstand in life. So he's going to say, don't let this thing delude you. And he's going to go through 8 different things that delude us on our path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, first thing, فَطَلَبُ الرَّاحَةِ فِي دَارِ الْغُرُورِ فَضِيحَةً يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَسِيرُ. He's like, the one who seeks out ease or rest in this world of deception, فَضِيحَةً يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, they're going to have remorse on يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَسِيرُ. What he's highlighting here is that Allah has made this world as the world of work and amal. This is the place where you plant the seeds. And the fruit that you benefit, that's qiyamah. That's hereafter. But he's like, if you try to make this the place of raha and relaxation, when Yawm al-Qiyamah comes, it's like exam day. You know what I'm saying? Some people, they studied so hard throughout the semester. Exam day comes, they're like, yeah, alhamdulillah, what's up? Let's go. But other people, exam day is like, dang, man, I wish I put in effort. I wish I put in time. What he's trying to highlight here is, don't let this dunya fool you. This dunya is not for raha. What does raha mean? Rest. Exactly. MashaAllah. Qalam registration is open. Yeah, so dunya is not for raha. If you try to make this the place of raha, rest, this ain't what it's for. This is the place of work. And so, again, last week we talked about how a dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir. Like the dunya is the jail of the mu'min. Like you locked up, you're like, dang man, I can't wait till I get out of here. Like I'm trying to do this bid and be out. But for the kafir, it's like this is the place of raha. So the concept of this being the place of raha is a misconception, and that's not the thought of the mu'min. The mu'min is like, yo, shamir, roll up your sleeves. We have to do work. And when is rest? Allahu Akbar. When is rest? We meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So look what he says next. Here are all the things that can throw you off. Number 1. وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ مَقَالُ النَّاسِ هَذَا الْفَتَى مِنْ أَكْيَسِ الْأَكْيَاسِ. He's like, don't be deluded by people praising you, saying, oh, this person is so smart and so on top of things. What's he talking about here? He's talking about how people praising us can confuse us about ourselves. What do I mean by that? Once the Prophet ﷺ saw a person praising another person to their face. And what did the Prophet ﷺ say to that person? وَيْحَكْ قَطَعْتَ unukahu. The Prophet ﷺ said, woe to you, you just cut his neck. Now you think about like, whoa, what is that? I just said, yo, good job, bro. Like I just praised the dude. Like, how did I hurt his neck? Because the Prophet ﷺ is saying that person who you're praising is someone, when they hear that praise, what do they start to think about themselves? Like, well, I'm legit, I'm good, yo. And the moment they start thinking that, what do they stop doing? Grinding, exactly. They stop progressing. They stop progressing. So what he's saying here, first thing first, وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ مَقَالُ النَّاسِ. Don't let people's flattering speech delude you about yourself. Number one. وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكَ مَا هُنَا الصَّمَدْ سَتْرَهُ فِيكَ مِنَ الْقُبْحِ أَبَدْ. Heavy one. Number two. He says, don't ever be deluded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's veiling the faults that you have. What does that mean? Look, I was talking to one of my teachers like 2 years ago, and I was texting him and I said something to him, and the dua that he sent me back, like I was like, Jazakallah Sheikh, you know, you helped me so much. I was basically praising him. And he wrote a dua back. Listen to this dua. He said, Alhamdulillahi alladhi, all praise to Allah the one, Adhar al-Jamil wa Satar al-Qabih. All praise to Allah the one who brought out the beautiful and hid the ugly. He's speaking about himself. He's speaking about himself. And what he's saying is like, all praise to Allah, because if you really knew who I was, and if Allah did not just cover me with His satar, I wouldn't even be able to sit here in front of you today. Do you feel me? But here's the problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covers us, covers us, covers us. And then you start to believe, oh, I'm good, yo. Again, you start to forget your own reality. So what does he say here? وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكَ مَا هُنَا السَّمَدْ سَتَرَهُ فِيكَ مِنَ الْقُبْحِ أَبَدْ. Never ever let the cover of Allah that Allah has placed on you from the evils within you, don't ever let that delude you. Meaning you constantly be aware that it's only Allah's blessing that He hid all of those faults that are inside of you. Otherwise, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't hide those faults, I ask you, which one of us would be able to show face up in this gathering, yo? Like for real, for real.
No one.
No one. Straight up. If Allah did not hide your fault from the last week, which one of us can come here and just sit here and be like, yo, what's up, yo? You'd be like, yo, bro, what you doing here, man? Ain't you the one? You feel me? But what happens is Allah's satar happens so much that we get comfortable. We're like, oh, I'm good. Like, no, that's Allah's covering your faults. Don't let that delude you about your own self. That was number two, right? وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ مَقَالَتُهُمْ فِيكَ بِلَا عِلْمٍ وَتَبْجِيلُهُمْ. He goes back to the people, because people always throwing us off. He says, وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ مَقَالَتُهُمْ فِيكَ. Don't let their speech about you delude you. بِلَا عِلْمٍ. They don't have knowledge. They don't have ilm. وَتَبْجِيلُهُمْ, and all their congratulations. What is he saying here? He's like, look, so people praise you, right? Like, oh, you know, mashallah, you're doing this. Mashallah, you do this. Mashallah, you're at the masjid, whatever. So they assume something about you, right? They assume something about you. So their knowledge about you is speculative. Their knowledge about you, all your about me right now is speculative. You assume stuff about me, and I as well with you, right? But what about my knowledge of myself? Is that speculative or certain? So he's like, why are you going to let the speculative overpower what you know for sure? Do you understand what he's saying? So he says, again, back to the people, وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ مَقَالَتُهُمْ فِيكَ بِلَا عِلْمٍ وَتَبْجِيلُهُمْ. Don't let people's speech that they don't know nothing. And you know, this can be used in the opposite way too. You know, people hate on us too that don't know you. This can, like, he's speaking in a way where people praise you. But this can also be applied to people hating on you as well. Like, why are you letting that affect you? Why are you letting what these people don't even know for real affect you? You know who you are. Don't let the people's speech affect you. It's beautiful stuff. وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ مَدَى الْأَزْمَانِ مَجِيئُهُمْ لَكَ مِنَ الْبُلْدَانِ لِطَلَبِ الْعِلْمِ وَلِلتَّبَرُّكِ وَلِلزِّيَادَةِ لِخَوْفِ الْمَحْلَكِ لِأَنَّهُمْ لَمْ يَعْرِفُوا مَا بَطَنَ فِيكَ مِنَ الْأَيْدِ وَمَا لَا عَلَنَا. Sheikh Ahmad Bamba right now in these 3 lines, he's talking to me right now. He's telling me off right now. You know what he's saying? He says, Yo mikaeel, la yaghurrannaka madal azmani. For the length of time, don't let people's coming from different parts of the city to seek knowledge and barakah and visit. Don't let that fool you, bro. Now, for most of us, you're like, ain't nobody coming to see me. That's what I said. He's coming at me right now. He's coming at. He's like, yo, وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكَ مَجِيئُهُمْ مِنَ الْبُلْدَانِ لَا يَغُرَّنَّكَ. Don't let that fool you, bro. He says, لِأَنَّهُمْ. This is crazy, guys. لِأَنَّهُمْ لَمْ يَعْرِفُوا مَا بَطَنَ فِيكَ. He's like, because they don't know what's inside of you, bro. Sheikh Ahmad Bamba's like, you know what's inside. You know what you think about. You know what you do. So Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, he goes, لِأَنَّهُمْ لَمْ يَعْرِفُوا مَا بَطَنَ. Because they don't know what's inside of you, min al-aib, and that which hasn't come out. Next one. Back to everybody. وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ بِرَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ كَرْمُهُ وَكَوْنُهُ بَرَّ الْحَلِيمِ. So, we disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a lot. But we always see His mercy. We always see His hilm, or His forbearance. We always see His patience with us. He's like, don't let that fool you. Sometimes you can be doing a sin over and over again. And because nothing's happening, you're like, I'm good. I guess I'm okay. He's like, listen what he says. He says, وَلَا يَغُرُّكَ بِرَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ. Don't let your Lord who's Kareem, His karam, His generosity fool you. And don't let the fact that He's so forbearant, don't let that fool you ever. Meaning, listen, just because you didn't get caught because of this slip up, don't let that fool you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not watching. Allah is not aware. So what number was that, by the way? Huh? 5. So what is he mentioning here? Sheikh Ahmad Bamba here is beautiful because he's like, look, these things can throw you off. Listening to what people say, being convinced, forgetting about your own nature, being someone who is looking at Allah's covering you and just being fooled by that, all of these things will throw you off the track. So Sheikh Ahmad Bamba rahimahullah, he says, don't let any of those things fool you. وَاسْتَحْيِ مِن نَذْرِ رَبِّكَ الْعَلِيمِ فَعَدَمُ الْحَيَاءِ شِيَةُ الْلَئِيمِ شِيمَةُ الْعَلِيمِ وَاسْتَحْيِ مِن نَذْرِ رَبِّكَ الْعَلِيمِ. For the first time in our book, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba brings up a word which is extremely important in the life of every Muslim and Muslimah, which is the word haya. He says in this line, haya, وَاسْتَحْيِ مِن نَذْرِ رَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ. Have haya. Now I'm going to talk about this concept of haya in a minute, but let's read the line and see what he says. He says, وَاسْتَحْيِ مِن نَذْرِ رَبِّكَ الْعَلِيمِ. Have haya. Have haya, or be shy, you could say, from the glance of your Lord upon you. He says, because a lack of haya, shimatul la'im. It is the trait of a wretched person. Now, I want to talk about this concept of haya because I think a lot of people don't understand how important this is. What is haya? Haya is normally translated as like modesty, shame, things like that. What does it mean to have haya before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? One of the most beautiful statements I read was by Junaid Baghdadi rahimahullah. He says, haya is to look at the blessings of Allah and then to be aware of your shortcomings as well. Having both those things in your mind at the same time, that's what haya is. What does that mean? Like at one moment I'm looking at all the blessings of Allah, right? That's in the front of my head. And at the same time, I look at what I'm doing. What feeling comes in my heart when I put this in front of all of this. That's haya. That's haya. Like, I'm ashamed to be presenting this in front of all those blessings you've given me. Like, count the blessings of Allah. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. If you were to count all the blessings of Allah, you could never do it. With all of those blessings, keep that in mind and then look at what you're doing. This is the concept of haya. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he said in a hadith, which for us as millennial Muslims in America is so important. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحْيِ. What's the rest of it? فَاسْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. This is a very important hadith. Write this hadith down. The Rasul ﷺ, he said, if you don't have haya, if you don't have this concept of shame, and by shame, brothers and sisters, I want you to understand, this is shame before Allah. This is not necessarily shame in front of other people. A lot of us have shame in front of other people. That's different than the haya we're supposed to have with Allah. How so? Okay, so this concept of haya is pretty deep. So let's talk about this. Like, if I go to the airport, right, and it's time for me to pray. If I go to the airport, it's time for me to pray. Oh, can you move up? Can you guys move up just a little, inshallah? Jazakallah khair. Let's talk about different levels of haya. One level of haya is in front of people. Haya in front of the people. Now, haya in front of the people is like, I go to the airport, right? Time to bust out dhuhr. Now, I ain't going to see none of these cats in the airport again. Guaranteed I'm never going to see them again. Right? But when it's time to bust out those 2 rakats, there's a level of haya that I have. There's a level of shame that I'm kind of like, I feel shame to do that in front of them. Right? And then there's a haya where in front of people, my own peers, whose values I share, I have a level of haya in front of you. One is a healthy haya or shame, another is not a healthy haya. What I mean by that is when we share the same values, undoubtedly, everybody in this room, I'll feel ashamed when I'm not holding up to the values that you and me both share. Does that make sense to you? You know what I'm saying? So let me give an example. Let me give a practical example. I don't play football, like football, whatever. So, do you know what a fumble is, though? Okay, cool. So imagine you played on a football team. Game day came, right? You're the running back. You got the ball, and you fumbled the ball. And you walk back to the sideline. Everybody's like, you're like, so what? What? I fumbled the ball. Yeah. Now, that person has no haya. That's a football player with no haya. No, for real. This example, you'll get this example. It's a powerful example. If he walks back to the sideline and he's like, so what? I can drop the ball if I want. They're going to be like, yo, get off the team. Because we have ideals here, and the ideals are that fumbling and turning over the ball is a bad thing to do. Now, in any other context, dropping the ball, there's no haya, whatever. But on the field during the game, you can't walk back to the sideline and be like, I can do whatever I want to do. Y'all can't make me feel bad. That's a healthy haya, right? In fact, you jump off sides or you do a penalty, dude ain't gonna hold his head up. He go like, dang, man, my bad, guys. I feel bad in front of you guys. I let y'all down. Now, here's my question. How did those people have the power to shame me? How do those players on the team have the power to shame me? Because we share the same values. And the fact that I'm on the same team means I share those values with you. Now, there's other contexts. There's thousands of contexts that I can think of off the top of my head that other people who I don't share values with may shame me. Why are you praying at the airport? Like, who are you? You see how we don't share values, so you can't shame me. If we shared the values, like if one of y'all came up to me, you're like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, my bad. Yeah, what did I do? Something wrong? But if someone else that I don't share values with, so that's one level of shame. And I think it's important to understand that you empower a certain group of people to shame you and not to shame you. And you have to take control of that. That's very important to understand. And here's the deal. Why is shame good for me? Because I know what I want to be, and I can't always reach it, so I use all of y'all to keep me on track too. I'm going to say that again. I know what I want to be in life. Spiritually, ethically, religiously, I know where I want to be. But I slip up. But by having you around me, you're like, yo, Mikaeel, I ain't seen you at the masjid in a minute, yo. I'm like, yeah, man, dang. Damn. Like, I just had my, dang, yo, you're right, yo. Y'all see you at Fajr tomorrow. I'm like, all right, cool, cool. You see what I'm saying? You see how that helps me? But I gave you that ability, right? In the moment, I'd be like, yo, man, why you checking me, dude? That's a problem. Because that means, like, I'm the dude that fumbled the ball and I came back to the team and I'm like, yo, who cares? They're like, all right, get off the team. Cool, we don't mind if you drop the ball, just not on our team. You can be on another team. Like, we don't mind. You can fumble all day. Just on a different team. So that's like the more social shaming thing. Right now, honestly, that could get a bit suffocating. Our masjids, unfortunately, have sometimes become so dang, man, they didn't give me a chance to talk, yo. It's like, yeah, I mean, it becomes very hard, right? Because there's so many different cultures and people are at different levels, and so we don't let people, like some people, like we don't let people grow. You know what I'm saying? We don't let people grow into their haya. You know, it's funny, when I first started studying, like in Islamic school, my classmates used to crack jokes on me because, like, man, you just got your haya. Because I had just converted, right? So like, what you talking? You just got your haya. You know what I mean? Like, this is new to you. What you talking about? It's like it's an inside joke between us. It takes time for that haya to grow. You know what I'm saying? And so in a masjid, a community center, we have this high standard of levels of what it should be. And now anyone who doesn't hit that level, they feel ashamed, and now they don't even want to be in that space. Now that's dangerous because you're not allowing for people to grow, right? Now the next level of haya, though, that's a like societal haya, right? And I wanted to talk about that to see how that plays into our lives. The point I want you to take from that is there are people I empower to shame me, and there's people that I don't even care about their shame. They have a different standard from me, and I don't care about their standard, right? So you can't shame me for things that are not my standard. But here's what I want you to really realize, though, which is the real haya is not that I'm going to have in front of you guys. You know what the real haya is? The one he's talking about right now, which is when it's just me and Allah. When it's just me and Allah. Haya, that shame I feel knowing Allah is watching me. That's what he's talking about. That's the one you want to build. And the Prophet ﷺ in many ahadith, he's like, listen, there's a hadith I want to share with you. The Prophet ﷺ said to the Sahaba, listen to this narration. It's in Tirmidhi and other books as well. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Istahyu min Allah haqq al-haya. He's talking to the Sahaba and he says to them, have haya with Allah. Not the people, with Allah. Have haya with Allah, haqq al-haya, as he deserves haya. So the Sahaba, they had their game tight, mashallah. So they said, Inna nastahi ya Rasulullah, walhamdulillah. They're like, yeah, we got haya, ya Rasulullah. Like, because they were on top of their deen, mashallah. They're like, yeah, we have haya. And Rasul said, nah, laysa dhalika. I'm not talking about what you're thinking about. So, walakin, now he explains it, and this is what you need to take note of. Man istahya min Allah haqq al-haya, the one who has haya before Allah as it should be, فَلْيَحْفَظْ رَأْسُ وَمَا وَعَى. They protect their mind and what's inside of it. Like, you ever get a thought, and like, if anyone could see that thought, like on the screens back there, everybody be looking at you like, yo, you crazy, dude. Nah, nobody? Come on,
Of course.
y'all be holding back sometimes, man. Trying to act all pious. Okay, so some of us get thoughts that are crazy thoughts, okay? And if those thoughts were to be seen by the people, oh my God, it'd be so embarrassing. So the Prophet ﷺ said, true haya of Allah is that you protect the mind and what's inside of it. So that thought that comes, you're like, astaghfirullah, ya Allah, astaghfirullah. You don't sit there and just like, nah. No, you're like, astaghfirullah, 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 ya Allah. So the first level of true haya is the thought that comes, you have haya before. Now that has nothing to do with people, because no one can see that. That's only about you and Allah. Your relationship with Allah, you're like, astaghfirullah, ya Allah. How did that cut? Astaghfirullah. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلْيَحْفِظْ بَطْنْ وَمَا هَوَى. And you watch what you consume. Like you watch your diet, you watch what you eat, halal, haram. People don't see that, they don't know. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you put inside. وَلْيَذْكُرِ الْمَوْتِ وَالْبَلَاءِ. The Prophet ﷺ said the next level of haya is that you remember death regularly. We talked about the effect of that in our previous halaqat. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةِ. This is the second. That part is done. The Prophet ﷺ just left this last part to us. He says, whoever intends for the akhirah, تَرَكَ زِينَةِ الدُّنْيَا. They don't care so much for all the beautification of the world. فَمَنْ فَعَلَ ذَلِكَ. The Prophet said, whoever does these things, فَقَدْ إِسْتَحْيَا مِنَ اللَّهِ حَقَّ الْحَيَاءِ. This person has truly had haya as they should have haya before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So what is Sheikh Ahmad bamba rahimahullah? He says, وَاسْتَحْيِي مِن نَذْرِ رَبِّكَ الْعَلِيمِ. Have haya from the gaze of your Lord Alim. One scholar, he said, like, just don't let Allah see you in a place you shouldn't be at. Don't let Allah see you in a place that you shouldn't be at. Like you have, don't answer the question, rhetorical, okay? You ever been at a place and you just like hope nobody from the community like rolls up? Don't answer, it's a rhetorical question. I hope not, but just in case. Like the worst thing is for someone to see you at that state. You're like, oh man, how embarrassing would this be? Right? The point is to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seeing you at those places. Just remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seeing you at that moment. That's what the haya means. You're like, it's just so shameful that Allah would see me at this place right now. Or in this state. May Allah give us tawfiq and protect us. Honestly, just ask Allah to create that feeling in your heart where you feel ashamed. Like, and you know, here's the other thing, guys. Never put your standards of haya on someone else. Because you don't know what that person, where that person's level is. Do you understand what I mean by that? Let me give an example. The Prophet ﷺ, this is so beautiful, please listen. The Prophet ﷺ one time was sitting at this the edge of a well, okay? And he's sitting down by himself. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he knocks at the door and asks permission to come in. And the Prophet ﷺ, there was a servant there with him. He said, see who it is. And the person said, who is it? He's like, it's Abu Bakr. He's like, it's Abu Bakr, can I come in? And the Prophet ﷺ said, come in. Now the Prophet was sitting down and like, so you like, if you know if you're wearing a thobe and you have like the pants under the thobe, like this kind of like sweatpants, but normally under the thobe is like thinner pants, right? So the Prophet ﷺ was sitting, but his thobe was up. So his legs were exposed, but not exposed like with those thin pants. So the Prophet's just sitting there like that. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he asked permission to come in. And the Prophet doesn't move. He sits there, he's like, yeah, let him come in. They're sitting there, they're just remembering Allah, no one's talking about anything. Then Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, he knocks. The Prophet sends someone to the door, see who it is. They're like, it's Umar, he wants to come in. He's like, yeah, let him in. The hadith says, then to the door came Uthman. This is crazy. This is a subhanallah. The servant comes back and is like, Uthman's at the door, he wants to come in. So the hadith says that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, oh, Uthman, he fixed his clothes. And he got straight. And he said, okay, let him in. And Abu Bakr and Umar were like, what's going on? So they asked him like, Ya Rasulullah, Abu Bakr came in, Umar came in, Sahaba came in, you never changed your state. And the Prophet ﷺ said something so beautiful. He said, how can I not have haya in front of the ones who the angels even have haya before? Like he adjusted his haya because of the haya of the dude that was coming in. So he knew that if he came in, please pay attention to the emotional intelligence of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? Some of y'all get it, some of y'all like, oh, you must not follow me on social media. So look at that emotional intelligence. The Prophet ﷺ, look, if he kept his legs open, when Uthman came in, how would Uthman feel sitting there? Very uncomfortable. He would have felt very uncomfortable because he's like, oh, his legs are exposed. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you ever feel, I'm not going to say the politician's name, but there's some politician when he speaks, I feel haya. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I can't listen to it. It just makes me feel bad. Like, I can't do it. Right? I just have to turn the screen off, okay? I'm not gonna say who. No need to. No, seriously. No need. So the point I'm trying to make is the Prophet ﷺ said, should I not have haya in front of someone? And so the Prophet ﷺ realizes that I'm going to adjust my level of haya for the person who I'm entertaining. And so all I want us to understand is like, there was nothing wrong with what the Prophet was doing, alayhi salam. He wasn't doing something wrong. He was still covered. But nonetheless, he wanted to make the person he was sitting with feel comfortable, and so therefore he adjusted himself and he got in a nice like thing, so that person felt comfortable in his presence. My point is this: a person will not have haya if they don't even know that what they're doing is not the ideal, and you are assuming that this person knows already. So many times people are like, well, why doesn't he do that, or why doesn't she do this? And I'm like, does that person know? Are you sure that person even understands that thing yet? Are you assuming that every Muslim already has these standards already like downloaded in their brain from the moment they were born? No. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important not to assume everyone understands or has that level of haya with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yet. Like, it takes time. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. Like, share too much with y'all. I remember one time, like, so I was a new Muslim, so it's old. I never told my wife this either. She don't know this one. This is so embarrassing. Okay. But so this is I'm sharing a precious moment with y'all. Okay. So Buffalo gets very cold. Okay. And I'm a new Muslim, and I'm studying in the madrasa there, right? And I'm like 19. You know, I just came out of high school. I'm a new Muslim, all right? And so, like I said, Buffalo gets very cold. And if you're from a northern place, you layer clothes in cold places. You layer, like, y'all don't even know how to dress in the cold, man. Like, you layer clothes. So you'll, like, wear long johns. You know what long johns are? Yeah. He knows where I'm going. He knows where I'm going. He's from New York. So long johns are worn under clothes, right? So they're, like, really thick. Just Google it, okay? All right? So, like, it's Fajr time, and I'm going to make wudu, and I slept in long johns, right? And so when I go out to make wudu, there's all the other brothers are there making wudu, but I'm only wearing long johns. And everybody's like, where'd this dude just come from? And so I got roasted forever as a dude that like doesn't understand haya, but I didn't know yet. Now, fast forward 7 years or so, I'm like, it's cringeworthy. Like, oh my God, I walked out in long johns in front of these people. What I'm trying to say is I didn't know at that time. So I couldn't have haya, I didn't know. And so we always assume about people like, oh, why doesn't she have haya? Or why doesn't he have haya? He doesn't know. And it takes time to learn these things sometimes. And maybe you grew up in a house or you grew up in a thing where you just downloaded that stuff. MashaAllah, that's amazing. But, you know, I was the guy walking around in long johns one time and didn't realize how silly I looked. But khair, inshallah. So everyone understand my point about the haya. It takes time to learn these things. And of course, here's the deal though. As I learned about sata, as I learned about aura, as I learned about these things, I was like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to show that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not supposed to do that. Do you understand? And then at that point, it's like, okay, I have my haya because I learned it, and then I'm ready to go. But it takes time to learn those things. So, wastahyi. But remember, so I want to make this contextual for the millennial Muslim. In our society, shame is just a bad thing. Don't be ashamed of nothing. Be yourself. Don't be ashamed of anything. Be yourself. And that's why some people dress in a way where you're like, I can't believe you're wearing that. Like, I feel shame for you. Like, it don't even look good. You need to have haya. Like, you need to have, seriously, bro. But no haya. What I'm trying to say is we are in a culture. And Dallas is in the Bible Belt, so it's a little more conservative down here, whatever. But the point I'm trying to say is it's like, do what fits you. There's no haya. The standard for what's right. We got to understand that's not us, yo. That's not us. If you see me walking around like, you know, you have like long johns, like, yo, Sheikh. That's not us. So we say no. The Prophet ﷺ said, again, I don't want you to take bad shame. I don't want people who have these other standards to make me feel bad in their company. No. People who I share values with, I want y'all to keep me on track. And that's our understanding of a healthy type of haya. You understand what I mean? That's our understanding of a healthy. But this concept of do as you willst, you speak your truth, that's not us, man. That's not us. And we have to be very careful, because this concept of just being shameful is something that is like really spoken down upon. The Prophet ﷺ, he saw someone telling someone off about their haya. It was a young man. And the person was telling him off like, yo man, you're too shy, da-da-da. The Prophet ﷺ said, stop. There's not, anytime shame is, haya is in something, it makes it more beautiful. It makes it more beautiful. So he said, stop trying to correct him. He's fine. He's fine. It's a beautiful quality. And again, Uthman bin Affan, the Prophet ﷺ said, his level is so high, the angels have haya around him. So again, may Allah give us that quality of haya. Why? Because it will keep us on track. That's why I want that quality. It keeps me on track. Okay, so what time? Okay, it's been 45 minutes, inshallah. We'll do one more. We will do one or two more lines. There's a few beautiful lines I wanted to get to. He says, وَاجْتَهِدَنَّ وَبِفَضْلِهِ ثِقِي لَا بِالَّذِي تَسْعَى وَإِيَّاهُ التَّقِي. He says, وَاجْتَهِدَنَّ. He says, like, you gotta strive, yo. You gotta strive. This deen is about effort. You gotta work a bit. وَبِفَضْلِهِ ثِقِي. But trust in his bounty. You strive, but you trust. Here's the beauty of a believer. You try your hardest. You put all of your effort, but you don't trust in your effort. Look what he says next. لَا بِالَّذِي تَسْعَى. Don't trust in your action. Trust in Allah, but put all of your effort. I'm going to say that again. You put all of your effort, 110%. But then, you let go. Like the Christians, you know what they say, is let go and let? Yeah, right? Amen. Not wrong. I mean, amen. It's all good. Sheikh, you tripping over there, yo. No, seriously. You try your hardest. Some people think this tawakkul means I'm not trying. Utmost effort. Everything you got. You try your utmost effort. Put everything into it. But then the problem is, if you don't do tawakkul next, trust in Allah, you can become worried about the consequences. And then if you fail, you feel like I failed. So no, utmost effort. See what he says? He says, وَاجْتَهِدَنَّ. Put all of your ijtihad, like try your hardest. وَبِفَضْلِهِ ثِقِي. But on Allah's bounty you trust. لَا بِالَّذِي تَسْعَى. Don't trust in your efforts. وَإِيَّاهُ التَّقِي. And have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next topic is a pretty deep one, and I won't have the time to explain it, so I think we'll have to leave this one. He talks about himma. Nashad, you want the next thing too?
I just want you to keep going.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Last topic, inshallah. All right, let's do it. If you gotta go, you can dip, yo. Okay, bismillah. Okay, last thing. So in Arabic, there's this word called himma. Himma. And himma means what you're striving for, what your aspirations are. Feel me? Now the word himma comes from a root word, hum. What's hum? Worry. What's the connection between aspiration and worry? This is it. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi, he says, al-mubtada, al-bidaya, hum, wal-nihaya, himma. Meaning, what you worry about is connected to your aspirations. You know what I'm saying? If you're worried about med school, it's because your aspiration to become a doctor. If you're worried about, your Quran being strong, it's because you want to be a good hafiz. The things you worry about are directly connected to your aspirations and what you're striving to get. This word himma means what you're striving after. What we see amongst a lot of young people is no himma. Meaning like especially young men. young men have this issue, especially if you play video games all day. Young men have an issue, which is there's no himma, there's nothing I want to aspire to. I just gotta conquer level 5, I guess. That's it, I gotta beat another level. And they don't even make beatable games anymore. Hold on, I'm gonna digress for a moment. Yo, in my time, I ain't even that old. In my time, there were levels and bosses to games. And you beat the game. Okay, you beat the game. There's no beating game. You can't beat PUBG. You can't beat Fortnite. You just keep playing and playing and playing and playing. That's crazy, yo. Think about it. Because they don't want you to beat it. They want you to just play it your whole life, basically. But they just want you to keep playing. Isn't that like the psychology behind that so interesting to me? Wallahu a'lam. But we used to have games that you could kind of like, oh, I beat the game. But that's done now. It's no more of that. So why am I talking about aspirations? Because especially amongst young men, the idea is that you need to have aspirations of what you're trying to achieve in life. What you're going after. You feel me, Nashad? Like, and now whatever you're going after, your hum will be around that. You feel me? Now, first thing I need you to understand is we're supposed to have high aspirations in general. High meaning I have aspirations I'm going for. But in our society, the first statement I just said is definitely agreed upon. Yeah, have high aspirations. You can do it. Become all you can be. Right? But here's the deal. For us as Muslims, the concept in Arabic is called uluwul himma. High aspiration is not just that you try hard and fight for something, but rather the thing you're going after is a high thing too. So look, this society, they don't care what you're trying to aspire to be. The fact that you're aspiring is amazing. Like, I am the best Jenga player ever. Everyone's like, people are crying. No, think about what I'm saying. It's so sad. They don't care what you're aspiring to be. As long as your aspiration, you're trying your best to be that thing. And you overcome all the difficulties to get to that thing. And you're like, and the music is playing in the back. But for us as Muslims, hear me out. It's not about how hard you're striving if the thing you're striving for is not a high thing. It's not a good thing. And so, now all of that was just an introduction to the concept of, in Islam, your himma. Hear me out. Our highest aspiration is the pleasure of God. That's it. I just want Allah. Everything else is nothing, yo. Like, my job ain't to be no sheikh speaking all over the world. That ain't nothing, man. My job is I want God's pleasure. I want on Yom Al-Qiyamah Allah to smile at me. That's it. Now, that's what I'm working for. And that's the highest aspiration, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, that's going to make me a good human being too, like by just on the side. But my aspiration, my himma, is Allah. And so what he's going to say now, all of that is a precursor. Listen to what he says now. With all of that introduction, listen to what he says. Yo, Jazakallah Nashad for pushing us, yo. وَالْهِمَمُ السُّلِفَ عَنَّهَا. Now? Alright, yeah. Okay, bismillah. وَهِمَمَ إِسْرَفْ أَنَّهَا لِلْحَقِّ سُبْحَانَ لَا تَلْتَفِتْ لِلْخَلْقِ. Look, he says your himma should be focused on al-haq, not on the khalq. What is the khalq, guys? Creation. Anything created, that's not your aspiration. Anything created. Don't get me wrong, yo. We drive the nice car, we buy the nice house, but it's not my aspiration. There's a difference, right? Do we have to back up? Like, we're not saying live like we can have nice stuff, right? We already talked about that, right? You can aspire to, but the highest aspiration, that's what you're truly focusing on. And because that's what your hum is going to be around. Here's the problem. If the car is the aspiration, your worry is about to get that. Your worry is about that. But if your aspiration is Allah, your worry is I gotta hit the salat, yo. Think about the time. Like, it's time to pray right now. 2 aspirations coming in your way. Which one's higher? You get it? That's where it comes into play, when there's 2 things competing for one another right there. Or, here's the easy one. What am I worried about all day? Like, many of us, our worries are, I don't mean to trivialize your trauma. No, seriously, I'm not trying to make light of what we're struggling for. But many of our worries are really just like shallow worries. Think about this. Okay, maybe someone's in high school. I ain't trying to hate on you. All right. But you remember high school drama? Like, think of it. No, seriously. High school drama was such a joke. But at that time, it was like, I'm so worried. I'm going to walk in the building. But now, no, seriously, I really need you to look at this. Who looks back? Everyone looks back like, that was such a joke. But when you were in that moment, your whole I remember, guys. Like, I went to a private school, so it was all boys. So a lot of my was gone, alhamdulillah. And my mother, if she's on Facebook, the live stream, thank you, mom, alhamdulillah. So, but I remember, like 8th grade, 7th grade, I remember like standing in the closet looking at clothes, and I'm like, okay, I wore that yesterday. I wore that 2 days ago. Like, can someone else validate what I'm saying? What kind of is that, dude? You know, Obama said, like, someone was telling, I think my wife told me this. Like, Obama, like, wears the same clothes every day. It's successful because, like, I don't got time to worry about that. That's not a worry that needs to be, I don't need to in the morning be checking that off my list. That's one less thing I can worry about. What I'm trying to say about the high school thing was this. Just the same way that's trivial, and now you look back, you're like, that was such a joke, is the way that when, as life goes on, you realize the true aspiration and the things that were causing you worries 5 years ago were so little. They were so low. So in this halaqah, what we're talking about now, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, he says, Al-hima, your aspirations, isrifha, turn it only towards al-haq, Allah, that's it. Wala yaltafit, and don't like, iltafit means, iltafata is when like you turn your head to something. So like imagine like you're focused, you're driving, and something catches your eye, and you look. That's called iltifat in Arabic. So when you're focused, you stay on the point. You don't look nowhere else, right? You're just on it. But when something catches your attention, that's when you iltafat. He says, la taltafit ila al-khalqi. Focus on Allah and la taltafit. Don't even glance over to the creation. That ain't nothing, yo. It's nothing. The worry for that car, it's nothing. You're going to look at that car the same way you look at high school right now. The same way you look at high school worries, you're going to look at that car later on in life. Like, that was so shallow. He says, look, now listen what he says. Why do you not turn your gaze to the creation? إِذَا الْبَصِيرَةُ كَمِثْلِ الْبَصَرِ يَمْنَأُهَا كَذَرَّةِ مِنْ نَظَرِ. He says, the reason you don't turn your eye towards it is because in human beings we have 2 types of sight. We have hearts. Allah says in the Quran, what is the verse? مَا تَعْمَلْ أَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَلْ قُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. Allah says, أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Listen to this verse. We'll stop with this, I guarantee. أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Why don't they travel through the land? فَتَكُونَ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ. And why don't they have hearts that يَعْقِلُونَ بِهَا, that they can think with? أَوْ آذَانٍ يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا, or have ears that can hear with. فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَلْ أَبْصَارٍ. Allah says the problem is not that people's eyes are blind. وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَلْ قُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. Allah says the problem with creation, us, me and you, is not that our eyes are blind, but our hearts are blind. Now hear me out. The sight of the eyes in Arabic is called basar. Basar, you with me? The sight of the heart in Arabic is called basira. Basira. Your basira is what recognizes reality. Your basira is what you feel opening up right now. You know, we're talking about like aspirations and you feel like something, like clarity coming. That's basira. When you see things clearly. When you see things clearly. These gatherings clear our basira, and then next week we come back because it got foggy again. No, for real. So here's the deal. He says, the reason you don't turn your glance to the khalq, he says, إِذَا الْبَصِيرَ, because your basira Your heart's sight is like your eyesight. It can become blinded by a speck of dust. I know, it's so deep. Sheikh Ahmad bamba rahimahullah. Let me break it down. If you get a speck of dust in your eye, just a little speck, you're like, right? You can't see. You just get a little speck, you're like, I can't see nothing. A little bit of dust. MashaAllah, the eyelashes just constantly protecting us, right? But a little dust gets in your eye, you can't see anything. A little bit, right? He says basira is the same way. If you get a little dust on that basira, you can't see straight again too. And that's why I said, like, this gathering is like eye drops, yo. For me, I'm just saying for myself, I ain't giving it to you. I'm just reading it like from the book. But my point, these gatherings are so that basira becomes more clear. That's why we come to these gatherings. So with that said, what he's saying is so beautiful. He said, because the basira is like the basar, it can become blinded by a speck of dust. And if you keep looking at the creation, you look at that car, you look at that house, you look at all that, those are those specks that can blind your basira. Does it make sense? Beautiful. Okay, I guess we'll stop there, inshallah. Okay, quick question. Everybody here is local, right? Mostly. Well, local meaning like, okay, so there's no qalam, like qalam is going on spring break, winter break. And do y'all want to have halaqah next week?
Yes.
Okay. I know you're going to be out of town. You out. Y'all can watch live stream, man. Right? Local people, like raise your hand, local people, y'all here? Okay, all right, okay, I'm gonna post it. We'll see. Gotta check with the supervisor. You know what I mean? Gotta check with the supervisor. No polls, no Instagram polls, dude. Chill out. Okay, so I'll keep you guys posted about next week. I'm not sure right now. Chances are we might have it. Just so you know, also there's a Sira intensive that Qalam is doing up in Carrollton Masjid. So like, mashallah, it's like 10 days. Some people have come from Maryland and different states to come and be at the Sira intensive. So I notice a lot of times people in Dallas, they don't even know what's going on in Dallas. And a lot of people from out of Dallas is coming in. So right now there's a Sira intensive going on. It doesn't start yet. It hasn't started yet. It starts on Friday. And I'm not saying like it's open to everyone. But I mean, if you just slide in, you just slide in. Right? I mean, don't take my name.
Hey, the video's still recording, man.
So anyways, I'm going to post on Instagram and Facebook whether or not we're going to have halaqah next week. I'm not sure. I'll keep you updated on that, inshallah. Let's make a dua before we stop, inshallah ta'ala. Oh, yes, questions. Yes, what's up?
My brother Amin is in the hospital.
Yes, definitely.
Also, my friend's mom passed away yesterday.
Okay, inshallah, definitely. Everyone, inshallah, let's make dua together, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma laka alhamdu kullu, wa laka shukru kullu, wa ilayki yajul amru kullu, alaniyata wa sirru. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahumma shfi mardana wa marda al-muslimin, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you to give shifa to all of those who are sick, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to give them shifa kamil ajil mustamir, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, those of our family members and friends who have passed away, Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, to forgive their sins and give them Jannat al-Firdaus, Ya Rabbil Alameen. We ask you to elevate their status in the hereafter, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, to meet them in a state that you are pleased with them and they are pleased with you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you to, Ya Allah, continue to give us the benefit of these gatherings, Ya Allah. We ask you, Ya Allah, to make these gatherings by which we get closer to you in our understanding to you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, to make us those people who have haya before you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us of people who understand the reality of this dunya and who have high himma, high aspirations only for you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa akhru da'wana an alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Jazakallah khair. I'll keep everyone posted for next Wednesday.